But poor Wada! The straw that broke the cook's back was when Charmian and I took him along on a cruise to the cannibal island of Malaita in a small yacht, on the deck of which the captain had been murdered half a year before. Kai Kai means to eat, and Wada was sure he was going to be Kai Kai'd. We went about heavily armed. Our vigilance was unremitting, and when we went for a bath in the mouth of a fresh-water stream, black boys, armed with rifles, did sentry duty about us. We encountered English war vessels burning and shelling villages in punishment for murders. Natives with prices on their heads sought shelter on board of us. Murder stalked abroad in the land. In out-of-the-way places we received warnings from friendly savages of impending attacks. Our vessel owed 2 heads to Malaita, which were liable to be collected any time. Then, to cap it all, we were wrecked on a reef, and with rifles in one hand warned the canoes of wreckers off, while with the other hand we toiled to save the ship. All of which was too much for Wada, who went Duffy, and who finally quitted the Snark on the island of Isabel, going ashore for good in a driving rainstorm, between 2 attacks of fever, while threatened with pneumonia. If he escapes being Kai Kai'd, and if he can survive sores and fever, which are riotous ashore, he can expect, if he is reasonably lucky, to get away from that place to the adjacent island of anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. He never did think much of my medicine, despite the fact that I successfully and at the first trial pulled 2 aching teeth for him. The Snark has been a hospital for months, and I confess that we are getting used to it. At Meringue Lagoon, where we careened and cleaned the Snark's copper, there were times when only 1 man of us was able to go into the water, while the 3 white men on the plantation ashore were all down with a fever. At the moment of writing this, we are lost at sea somewhere northeast of Isabel and trying vainly to find Lord Howe Island, which is an atoll that cannot be sighted unless one is on top of it. The chronometer has gone wrong. The sun does not shine anyway, nor can I get a star observation at night, and we have had nothing but squalls and rain for days and days. The cook is gone. Nakata, who has been trying to be both cook and cabin boy, is down on his back with fever. Martin is just up from fever and going down again. Charmian, whose fever has become periodical, is looking up in her date book to find when the next attack will be. Henry has begun to eat quinine in an expectant mood. And since my attacks hit me with the suddenness of bludgeon blows, I do not know from moment to moment when I shall be brought down. By a mistake we gave our last flour away to some white men who did not have any flour. We don't know when we'll make land. Our Solomon sores are worse than ever, and more numerous. The corrosive sublimate was accidentally left ashore at Penduffryn. The peroxide of hydrogen is exhausted, and I'm experimenting with boric acid, Lysol, and antiphlogistin. At any rate, if I fail in becoming a reputable MD, it won't be from lack of practice. P.S. It is now 2 weeks since the foregoing was written, and Tehei, the only immune on board, has been down 10 days with far severer fever than any of us and is still down. His temperature has been repeatedly as high as 104 and his pulse 115. P.S. At sea, between Tasman Atoll and Manning Straits. Tehei's attack developed into blackwater fever, the severest form of malarial fever, which the doctor book assures me is due to some outside infection as well. Having pulled him through his fever, I am now at my wits' end, for he has lost his wits altogether. I am rather recent in practice to take up the cure of insanity. This makes the 2nd lunacy case on this short voyage. P.S. Some day I shall write a book for the profession and entitle it Around the World on the Hospital Ship Snark. Even our pets have not escaped. We sailed from Meringue Lagoon with 2, an Irish terrier and a white cockatoo. The terrier fell down the cabin companionway and lamed its nigh hind leg, then repeated the maneuver and lamed its off foreleg. At the present moment it has but 2 legs to walk on. Fortunately, they are on opposite sides and ends, so that she can still dot and carry 2. The cockatoo was crushed under the cabin skylight and had to be killed. This was our first funeral, though for that matter, the several chickens we had, and which would have made welcome broth for the convalescents, flew overboard and were drowned. Only the cockroaches flourish. Neither illness nor accident ever befalls them, and they grow larger and more carnivorous day by day, gnawing our fingernails and toenails while we sleep. P.S. Charmian is having another bout with fever. Martin, in despair, has taken to horse-doctoring his yaws with bluestone and to blessing the Solomons. As for me, in addition to navigating, doctoring, and writing short stories, I am far from well. With the exception of the insanity cases, I'm the worst off on board. I shall catch the next steamer to Australia and go on the operating table. Among my minor afflictions, I may mention a new and mysterious one. For the past week, my hands have been swelling as with dropsy. It is only by a painful effort that I can close them. A pull on a rope is excruciating. The sensations are like those that accompany severe chilblains. Also, the skin is peeling off both hands at an alarming rate, besides which the new skin underneath is growing hard and thick. The doctor book fails to mention this disease. Nobody knows what it is. P.S. Well, anyway, I've cured the chronometer. After knocking about the sea for 8 squally, rainy days, most of the time hove to, I succeeded in catching a partial observation of the sun at midday. From this I worked up my latitude, then headed by log to the latitude of Lord Howe, and ran both that latitude and the island down together. Here I tested the chronometer by longitude sights and found it something like 3 minutes out. Since each minute is equivalent to 15 miles, the total error can be appreciated. By repeated observations at Lord Howe, I rated the chronometer, finding it to have a daily losing error of 0.7 of a second. Now it happens that a year ago, when we sailed from Hawaii, that self-same chronometer had that self-same losing error of 0.7 of a second. Since that error was faithfully added every day, and since that error, as proved by my observations at Lord Howe, has not changed, then what under the sun made that chronometer all of a sudden accelerate and catch up with itself 3 minutes? Can such things be? Expert watchmakers say no. But I say that they have never done any expert watchmaking and watch rating in the Solomons. That it is the climate is my only diagnosis. At any rate, I have successfully doctored the chronometer, even if I have failed with the lunacy cases and with Martin's yaws. P.S. Martin has just tried burnt alum and is blessing the Solomons more fervently than ever. P.S. Between Manning Straits and Pavuvu Islands. Henry has developed rheumatism in his back. 10 skins have peeled off my hands, and the 11th is now peeling, while Tehei is more lunatic than ever, and day and night prays God not to kill him. Also, Nakata and I are slashing away at fever again. And finally up to date, Nakata last evening had an attack of ptomaine poisoning, and we went half the night pulling him through. End of Chapter 17. Recorded by Todd Lennon, Albuquerque, New Mexico, February 8, 2009.